The market is weird today, I thought to myself. Frantic, volatile, a chaotic symphony of digital warfare as traders battled against the pulse of the markets. I could feel the frenetic energy on my screen as fortunes were made and lost in a blink of an eye. But in the midst of this manic dance, I sat perfectly still, my fingers poised over my mouse, but not moving. Unlike other traders I knew of, I wasn't frantically clicking from stock to stock, pair to pair. My eyes weren't darting between 10 different charts. I wasn't trading oil futures, gold contracts, or the latest crypto craze. No, I was focused on one thing, and one thing only: the Euro-USD Forex pair. For many years, I traded nothing but this single pair. It had become an obsession, my entire world. While other traders chased trends, diversified portfolios, and scrambled to keep up with the whims of the market, I had pared everything down to this one strategy, this one focal point. At this point in my trading journey, I believe true mastery can only come from a singular focus. One pair, one goal, one life. But on this fateful day, something was different. An email alert had arrived earlier that morning, one that made my stomach churn. My account had dwindled dangerously close to the margin call. After years of dogged persistence, after years of pouring my heart, mind, and soul into the art of trading, I was about to lose everything. "This is your final week to recover," the message read. "Margin is running thin." My hand trembled slightly as I hovered my mouse, watching the Euro-USD pair tick down further into the red. My heart beat faster, not from excitement, but from a dull, crippling fear. I wasn't a man who panicked easily. I had weathered brutal losses in the past. But this felt different. This felt final. The market had been wild for months, volatile beyond anything I'd ever seen. Every strategy, every careful calculation, every pattern I had once trusted seemed to betray me. For a moment, I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. Years of my life were on the line. Years of sleepless nights, 5 years spent staring at these screens, dissecting every economic report, reading the minutiae of every central bank statement, looking for the tiniest edge, the smallest sign. All of it had been for one thing: to prove that singular focus was the key, that if you committed entirely to one thing, you could master it. You could conquer it. I haven't always been this way, though. There was a time when I was just like other traders, diversified, scattered, strategy hopping, and chasing one hot tip after another. My early success had come fairly easy. When I started trading, I had it all: the lucrative trades, a nice apartment in the city, and Sarah. Sarah. Her name hit me like a cold slap across the face. Years had passed since she'd left, but the wound hadn't fully healed. If anything, it had festered. I still vividly remember the night she walked out. One of the few memories that still cut through the haze of numbers and charts that consumed my days. "You're never really here, Harry," she'd said as she packed her bag. "You're always chasing something. You have one foot in everything, but you're not committed to anything." I didn't argue. What would have been the point? She was right. My life had become a frantic juggling act. Dozens of trades, countless strategies, always chasing the next high, the next win. And somewhere in that chaos, I'd lost her. As the door clicked shut behind her, I stood there for hours, staring at the empty space she left behind. The silence was unbearable. In that moment, something in me snapped. The pain of her leaving hadn't been the only thing that broke me. It was the realization that she hadn't just walked out on me. She had walked out on the fragmented, scattered mess I had become. That night was the night I made a choice, a vow to myself, to focus on one, just one. I sold off everything I had: stocks, commodities, futures, and chose a single forex pair to trade: Euro-USD. It was old, stable, the beating heart of the global financial system. I told myself that if I could master this one pair, if I could focus all my energy into just this, I would find success. Not just financial success, but a sense of control, a sense of meaning that had always eluded me. And for a time, it worked. I became obsessive, learning everything I could about the pair. I woke up every morning before dawn to check European market reports, followed every political shift in the Eurozone, and scrutinized every word from the Federal Reserve like a hawk. I found patterns others couldn't see, anomalies that whispered to me in the noise of the markets. Slowly, steadily, my account grew. It wasn't the meteoric rise I had once experienced in my younger days, but it was steady, predictable, consistent. Other traders called me crazy for narrowing my focus so much, but I didn't care. I felt in control. But markets have a way of humbling even the most focused traders. The past few months had been a whirlwind of chaos, global events beyond anyone's control that sent the euro-dollar pair into wild fluctuations. Central banks had made policy shifts no one had predicted. Political unrest in Europe had blindsided everyone. And no matter how much I studied, no matter how much I fine-tuned my strategy, the market seemed determined to rip everything away from me. I was down almost 40% in the last few months. And now, with my margin running thin, I was teetering on the edge of financial ruin. One bad trade, one wrong move, and I would be wiped out completely. I opened my eyes and stared at the screen again. The numbers danced in front of me, mocking me. I felt the cold grip of fear tightening around my chest. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about something far deeper. It was about the vow I'd made to myself that night Sarah left. My phone buzzed on the desk. Distracted, I glanced at it. It was a message from Sarah. For a moment, my heart skipped. She hadn't reached out to me in over a year. Slowly, I picked up the phone. I heard you're still trading. I don't know if you remember, but we used to say that if something was worth fighting for, it was worth fighting for fully. I hope you find that one thing worth fighting for. My breath was caught in my throat. The words blurred as I read them again and again, my chest tightening with a mix of emotions I couldn't quite place. She remembered, despite everything. She remembered the conversations we used to have, the dreams we used to share. I felt a tear slide down my cheek, but I didn't wipe it away. Instead, I let it fall. A single drop of vulnerability in a world where I'd built walls too high for anyone to see over. I'd thought Sarah left because I wasn't enough for her, because my obsession with my career had driven her away. But maybe, just maybe, it was because I hadn't been whole. I had been fragmented, always splitting my attention, my life, my energy between too many things. And now, with everything on the line, the irony wasn't lost on me. I had devoted myself entirely to one thing, to one trade, and it still wasn't enough. Or maybe I realized that had never been the point. My hand hovered over the mouse. The Euro-USD pair flickered again, still in the red, still dropping. My hand trembled, torn between placing another desperate trade or cutting my losses. But something deep inside me stirred, a quiet voice. I closed my eyes. No, it wasn't about one trade. It wasn't even about winning or losing that trade. It was about life. It was about the choices I make and the things I fight for. In that moment, I did something I hadn't done in years. I logged out. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I stood up from my desk without the crushing weight of uncertainty on my shoulders. Outside, the sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the city's skyline. I stared out the window, breathing deeply as if seeing the world for the first time in years. I wasn't walking away from the trade forever. I knew that. But I was walking away from the belief that one meant singular, that it meant isolation, that it meant shutting out everything else in life. The power of one was never about narrowing my world to a single trade. It was about focus. It was about clarity. It was about knowing what truly mattered and committing to it fully. The next morning, I returned to my desk. My strategy hadn't changed. My focus hadn't shifted. I still traded only Euro-USD. I still believed in the power of focusing on one thing, of mastering it. But now, there was something different. I now know that this one single trade wasn't going to make or break me. So I stopped the bleeding. I took my loss. This was the moment I truly understood and imbibed the habit of managing my risk better. Going forward, I traded with purpose, not with desperation. I sent a message to Sarah. I told her I have found my one thing. I told her I had found my purpose. Months later, my account was back in the black. Not wildly profitable, but steady, stable, consistent. And my life? Well, I'll leave you to tell how you feel it's going. This story isn't just about trading. It's about something much bigger. Though rooted in trading, it offers universal lessons about focus, commitment, and the pursuit of mastery. Let's break down the 5 key takeaways from my experience that every trader, no matter the experience or what you trade, will help you become a better trader and, most importantly, a better person. Number 1. One trade doesn't define you. In the high-pressure world of trading, it's easy to let a single loss feel like the end of everything. I felt this deeply as my account balance teetered on the edge of a margin call. One wrong move, one misjudged trade, and my years of hard work would vanish. Yet, in that moment of overwhelming pressure, I experienced a crucial realization. One trade, no matter how significant, doesn't define my entire journey. Traders, like anyone pursuing big goals, often get trapped in the idea that one failure defines their overall success or failure. The same mindset happens in life too. Think about a bad day at work, a fight with a loved one, or a failed project. When you're in the thick of it, it's easy to feel like that one moment holds the weight of your entire story. But that's just not true. An artist makes a mistake on a painting, perhaps a wrong stroke of the brush. It's not the end of the painting. It's just one part of the process. A mistake can be painted over, integrated into the overall work, or even turned into a new form of expression. The canvas doesn't need to be thrown away because of one error. In the same way, traders don't need to throw away their entire strategy or self-worth because of one trade gone wrong. Sitting at my desk on that fateful day, staring at the flashing red numbers, could have paralyzed me. I could have let the loss define me. I could have seen myself as a failure, doomed to repeat the same mistakes. But instead, I chose to step back and recognize that one bad trade was just that, one trade. It wasn't the full picture of who I was as a trader or as a person. The market, like life, moves on. There would always be another opportunity, another trade, another day to begin again. When I logged out of my system that day, it wasn't an act of surrender. It was an act of reclaiming my narrative. I let that moment be a learning point, something to grow from, but not something that would dictate my future. For every trader, and for anyone facing a seemingly monumental failure, this is the takeaway. No one moment, no single mistake, defines your entire path. One failed trade, it's just a brushstroke on the larger canvas of your trading career. One bad day, it's just a page in the book of your life. Number 2. Purpose over obsession. To truly grasp the power of one, it's essential to understand the difference between purpose and obsession. Imagine a gardener tending to a single rosebush. Obsession is like pouring every drop of water you have into the soil, pruning each petal until there's nothing left, all in an attempt to control its growth. You become so consumed by the process that you suffocate the very thing you're trying to nurture. In contrast, purpose is knowing that while that rosebush needs attention, it also needs space, patience, and trust to bloom on its own. You tend to it with care, but you understand that growth happens over time, not through force. I'd spent years obsessing over every tick of the market, every economic report, believing that if I could just control one more factor, tweak one more strategy, I could master the market. But the more I tried to force the outcome, the further it seemed to slip from my grasp. My trades became more about proving a point than following a meaningful plan, just like a gambler who keeps doubling down on a losing hand. I wasn't trading with clarity. I was trading with fear. The turning point came when I realized that no amount of obsession would change the market's unpredictability. The market didn't care about my sleepless nights or my painstaking research. It would move as it always had, indifferent to my struggles. What I could control, however, was how I approached those movements. Instead of letting each trade carry the weight of my self-worth, I began to see trading as a tool, something that could be wielded with precision, but not something that should define me. I shifted from obsession to purpose. Trading with purpose meant stepping back and understanding why I was doing this in the first place. It wasn't about conquering the market. It was about creating a stable, sustainable path forward. It wasn't about winning every trade. It was about consistency and long-term growth. When I made this mental shift, something clicked. I started trading with a clear head, not an anxious heart. And the irony, once I stopped obsessing over every trade, my account slowly began to recover. The lesson here is profound. The power of one doesn't come from pushing yourself to the brink, obsessing over every detail, or trying to control outcomes. It comes from aligning your focus with purpose. When you find your purpose, you're no longer just reacting to life. You're shaping it with intention, with clarity, and most importantly, with meaning. Let me rephrase. When you understand the real reason you trade, you won't obsess over the result of every single trade. Instead, your focus will be on becoming better with each trade, so you can be a master of the game in the long term. 3. The power of one enables mastery. My laser-sharp focus on the Euro-USD pair was my secret weapon. Unlike other traders bouncing around between a million different markets, I dove deep into just one. This dedication allowed me to become a real expert, noticing patterns and trends that others missed. I could practically feel the market's pulse, anticipating its moves with uncanny accuracy. By concentrating on a single market, I could devote my entire energy to understanding its intricacies. I studied economic indicators, central bank policies, and geopolitical events with unwavering attention. I built a mental model of the euro-dollar pair, a complex web of interconnected factors that influenced its price. Imagine trying to learn every instrument in a band at once. It's tough, right? You might know a few notes on each, but you won't be a master of any. That's kind of what happens when you try to trade too many different things. You might make a little money here and there, but you won't really understand any one market deeply. A lot of traders are still in that boat, trying to trade everything. And it's a wild ride. I picked just one instrument and practiced it until I could play it like a pro. If you really want to make money in the market as a beginner, this is the way to go. Instead of trying to trade everything, you focus on just one thing, one strategy, and a single pair. This means you don't have to worry about what's happening in the whole world, just what's affecting your one pair. You don't have to spend time switching between different strategies for different things. You will take fewer trades, which saves you money on fees. And with less to worry about, you have more time for other things in your life. This deep understanding will give you an edge in the market just as it gave me. Number 4. Reassess, don't abandon. My story offers a powerful lesson for traders and anyone facing adversity about the importance of reassessing rather than abandoning a path entirely. When I logged out of my trading system and stepped away from the chaos of the market, it wasn't an act of defeat. I wasn't throwing in the towel or abandoning my strategy. Instead, I was making one of the smartest moves any trader or person can make. I was taking the time to pause, reflect, and reassess my approach. It's a concept we all intuitively understand in other areas of life. Imagine you're hiking a difficult trail, and as you ascend, the terrain becomes more treacherous and steep. You feel tired, unsure of your footing, and the path ahead looks daunting. In that moment, the smart move isn't to push forward blindly or give up and turn back. The best thing you can do is stop, take a breath, and reassess your surroundings. You might need to take a different path, change your pace, or even wait for better conditions before continuing. But the pause doesn't mean the hike is over. It's simply a recalibration, a moment to gather strength and clarity before moving forward. For me, stepping away from the screen was just that, a recalibration. My strategy of focusing on the Euro-USD pair hadn't failed me entirely. It was the turbulent market conditions and my own mindset that had shifted. Instead of continuing to push forward in a reactive state, I made the decision to pause, giving myself the space to think clearly again. This decision to reassess is key in trading and in life. In trading, it's easy to get caught up in the immediacy of the markets. The constant fluctuations, the adrenaline, and the need to make split-second decisions can make it feel like there's no time to pause. But this urgency is often deceptive. Just because the market is moving quickly doesn't mean you need to follow its frantic pace. Sometimes, the wisest move is to log out, take a break, and give yourself the chance to think strategically rather than emotionally. 5. Consistency beats impulsiveness. In the fast-paced, adrenaline-fueled world of trading, it's tempting to jump from one financial asset to another, chasing the next big win. The allure of quick profits, the fear of missing out, and the constant noise of the markets can pull traders in 100 different directions at once. But my story is a testament to the power of consistency, a testament to the power of choosing a single path and sticking to it, even when others around you are frantically scrambling for the next big thing. I didn't chase the latest trends or hop from trade to trade in search of a quick win. Instead, I committed to one currency pair and dedicated myself to mastering it. This steady, long-term approach may have seemed slow and unexciting to other traders who were constantly bouncing between forex pairs, stocks, commodities, and cryptocurrencies. But while they were caught up in the whirlwind of impulsive trades, my consistency gave me something invaluable: stability. In trading, consistency is about nurturing your strategy, trusting the process, and giving it the time and attention it needs to flourish. One of the reasons impulsiveness can be so dangerous is because it's driven by emotion rather than logic. When traders strategy hop, jump from financial asset to another, they're often reacting to short-term market movements, media hype, or the influence of others. And this might be one of the reasons many traders are still struggling today. So it's time you stop being that impulsive trader who celebrates a big win today, and the next day, panic over a sudden loss. This emotional volatility can and will surely lead to burnout, poor decision-making, and, ultimately, failure. Talking about setbacks and failures, do you know that trading losses can actually set you on the path to becoming successful? We recommend you watch this video and find out why losing money in trading is the surefire step to making money in the market. If you find this video helpful in any form, please like and share the video. Subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching.